Charles, I've heard in real estate it's location, location, location.
That's right.
But investing, there's some emphasis on timing, right?
Timing is important.
Well, we worked out the timing properly today and avoided the weather delay. Look at this, though. We happen to be standing right in front of the Nygaard.
What's left of?
Yeah, the New York headquarters. What is going on with Peter Nygaard?
I thought he was arrested, and at one point he was a billionaire. He had a fashion designer, all kinds of deals with mass marketing apparel, and he had worked up this considerable fortune and real estate empire in the Bahamas, including a palatial sort of South Seas plantation style complex with all kinds of buildings and swimming pools on the water there in right inside Lifer Key, which is a very exclusive club.
Oh, look, it says for rent. So, I mean, I guess they've made a deal with the West Village Spectacular Joe's Pizza, but the whole Nygaard place is out, Charles.
I think
inside.
I think Nygaard.
I feel like he's said that before.
That's right. I think Nygaard is ancient history.
Wow. I didn't realize that. Well, you know, Charles, before we get into the details of what we're going to share today, there's a number of technological breakthroughs that have occurred. You were just telling me on our walk up here that Jennifer Balsacchi is interested in throwing more people off of social media for what she considers misinformation. That's the We World Tour bus right there, I think. They're hiring. What I wanted to say about the technology real quick is that today I have achieved the first functional test with the Crowdsource the Truth video server. It's now capable of live streaming.
That's fantastic, Jason.
It's fantastic, Charles. And what that means is people who are sponsors on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth will now be participating in yet another beta test starting tonight with High Dive with Lee Stranahan. We're going to be utilizing that independent video server for live streaming and playback of the stored video once it's done. So I hope that people will become sponsors if they aren't already. I know everybody loves to watch the show, it's free and all that, but we can see where this reliance on free services has gotten us. It's created a condition where basically everybody can be thrown off. And if I hadn't started this effort almost a year ago, we wouldn't be so well prepared for what might be imminent. So I want to thank all the sponsors. And Charles, there is yet another major technological breakthrough.
What's that, Jason?
Take a look at my wrist, Charles. We can now have overlay graphics. Oh, why is it moving so crappily? But the plagiarizer bunny can now walk by and we can have all kinds of overlaid graphics.
But that's really on the street. I mean, we see him right in front of us, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's well done.
So we now have a new, I'm trying to think how that, it just took all morning to figure out how to get that to work. But I'm trying to think how that could be utilized to conduct an interview with Dr. Fauci, because he basically got yelled at by Rand Paul yesterday. It was hilarious.
Yeah, and thanks for that excellent, the art department's excellent poster, Dr. Kileverybody.
Oh, right, we should explain that, because I don't really exactly know who Dr. Kildare is or was or what that's all about. But Dr. Kileverybody seems to be a good nickname for Fauci.
Yeah, exactly, and I think, to go to an earlier comment that you made and tie it to the poster, it used to be pre-March of 2020 that if you had a serious health problem, you would seek some sort of guidance from a trained medical professional who understood your particular predicament. Not everybody, thankfully, is the same.
History as well.
Right, not everybody's the same. People have allergies, they have preconditions.
No, I know. I've just restarted it, so hopefully that was just a short break. There's a lot of different failure modes.
Right around here, we often get cut. Now that I think about it.
But it feels like they're brewing something up with social media, Charles. There's another person in a Maserati going crazy. But they're getting ready to drop something, I think.
I think you're right. Well, there's certainly... So just going back to this Jen Psaki idiotic pronouncements, and she used to do this for John F. and Kerry when she was press secretary to the Secretary of State. She just acts as if her word is the law. Whatever she decides, that's the truth. And if you want to disagree with her, you're in the way of the truth, and we're going to punish you, and this and that. That is precisely the opposite approach that Thomas Jefferson, so wisely, frankly, encouraged in the Virginia Statute of Religious Liberty, in the Declaration of Independence, and the Constitution.
Right.
It is the stale and very frequently wrong dogma that only gets challenged by the lone voices whistling in the wind, who very frequently in the beginning are shouted down because they're challenging authority.
Sounds like me and you.
Exactly. Well, going back to the 60s, the very same people who are way past their sell-by dates, running the House, the Senate, and trying to run the country, these people back in the 60s and 70s were the very same people saying, challenge all authority, don't listen to anybody over 30, don't believe what you read, think for yourself.
Yeah.
These same people are saying, no, there's only one answer.
Yeah, we're right. You're banned.
And that is just so dangerous, because in 2021, we have a constrained number of pipes through which the information flows. Tubes, yeah.
You might even say.
Exactly. Back in, say, 1989, we weren't hostage to social media. There were many more different owners in corporate media. It wasn't just 3 or 4 or 5 mega companies.
1996, you said?
1989.
Oh yeah, but didn't Bill Clinton sign something that allowed them to consolidate the ownership of media?
Right. And in addition, back in 1989, it was important to go to college, but it wasn't as if there were 15 applicants for every place at a Harvard, Yale, and Princeton back then. It was more like 6 or 7. And the reason it's so much higher now for the great schools is that people around the world are richer and more ambitious, and they view, particularly in the Asia Pacific region, they view the brand name schools as really being worth the spend, even if Junior or the Dynamic Princess is basically dumb as a box of rocks. They still want the Harvard emblem on that kid. They pay for the kid to get in, which can be done.
Buying credibility, right?
Right. It's a status symbol. Why would you pay whatever it costs to buy a Birkin bag? Why is it really that much better than a $2,000 handbag? I don't think so. Anyway.
Does that have like $1,800 cash in it when you buy it?
No, I think a Birkin bag is over $10,000. It might be like 13 or 15 or some absurd number.
$9,800 cash in it when you buy it?
If only. So we're walking up 6th here, and we're nearly to Fox. Our friend Ted Malloch, who we had on the show a number of times, remember, he was the one who was being suggested might be America's ambassador, first ambassador to the European Union, with the mission of destroying the European Union. And he got out ahead of his skis, I think, and the swamp didn't like him, so they magnified controversies about his resume, claiming that he deflated his resume, which I don't know if he did or didn't. But he had a great...
Wait a minute though, Charles. You know what that controversy causes me to do?
What?
It's right there.
Oh, how come it's not? There it is. I have to relaunch the plagiarism bunny.
There you go. But he has a great piece in, I forget, it's like American Conservative or some new platform that I hadn't heard of, wherein he takes Fox News apart limb from limb. And he had been previously on Fox News extensively, on Fox Business, Fox Main, Fox News, etc. for to their advertisers. And I got to say, I was watching a bit of that last night. I was watching Tucker briefly, who was going after Fauci hard. Yeah. But
They should start advertising on Fox News.
Before
Take away
long.
some of the pillow ads.
Before long, it'll be Mike Lindell for Weed World, if you really want to fall asleep. But
Crack world.
it was quite a piece in
Taking apart Fox News, Ted Malik.
and in particular going after Neil Cavuto, who I've been on his show several times, and he was nice enough. But when you get into his background, he really doesn't have much of a business background other than being picked out of obscurity to be join Fox News in its very infancy. And he's
getting smoked on by this guy who just threw the cigarette butt down into this
guy here?
grating on the subway, which if it had succeeded, it could cause a track fire. And I'm not going to say anything to him because he's a lumbering oaf, but I'm sure he thinks it's his right to smoke cigarettes in our face. It looks like this asshole works for Fox News. Oh, he lit another cigarette right away.
I wouldn't pick a fight with him.
How can that guy not be dead yet?
He's got boxer's arms. I would not fuck around with him.
Yeah, I'm not going to mess with him, but this is the type of asshole we're dealing with and the type of people who think, he's got a mask on too, Charles, so that's good.
That's
He's
good.
very safe.
I got cancer, but at least I don't have COVID.
Man. So what's going to happen with Fox News vis-a-vis Ted Malik?
Well, I mean, Ted is obviously not going to be invited back on Fox News, but to just finish on Cavuto.
Oh, yeah, right.
He, according to Ted in his piece, which may or may not be correct, he actually worked for Carter, then he worked for PBS, and then he got hired to be in the Fox Business Channel, and has worked his way up to a very high role at Fox, where he, decides what stories get prominence and what don't, and he decides what guests are banned and are not banned. And I think that's really the danger at these various corporate-owned media. If you put somebody who is a partisan into the mix, and you've got at least two partisans, you got Cavuto and you've got that guy Jim Kennedy we talked about, who is enthralled to Hillary in the Clintons and actually worked in the Clinton Foundation in a senior role from about 2003 to I want to say 6 or 8 in that time frame, precisely when the Clinton Foundation didn't exist. It wasn't stupid. Woman hit me with her handbag.
I missed that. So
this guy was
Clintons.
This guy was in charge of communications for the Clinton Foundation, and his name's on all sorts of emails and raising money in Ireland and elsewhere. The Clinton Foundation in 2003 had never been audited by a legitimate auditing firm and was not registered to do business in New York, where he was showing up to the office every day.
I have something to add to this, because we had on the show yesterday, do you want to go this way?
Whatever you want, yeah.
Yesterday we had back again attorney Joseph McBride, who is defending Richard Barnett.
Richard Simmons?
No, BigOBarnett.com is the legal defense fund, but Richard is one of the guys who was there at the Capitol on January 6th. He was photographed at Nancy Pelosi's desk. And so his attorney, Joseph McBride, came on the show to talk about how he had been invited on CNN by this guy, John Avlon, who basically was totally unprofessional, gaslit Joseph McBride the whole time, spoke over what he was saying, spoke about the big lie, wanted to sort of corner McBride and get his opinion on what he thought about the election results, which is obviously irrelevant to his defense of Barnett. But when we started to look at this guy, Avlon, he's married to Herbert Hoover's great-granddaughter.
Oh, Margaret Hoover?
Yes.
I know her.
And he was the editor-in-chief of the Daily Beast for like 6 years. So he obviously is down with Barry Diller. And by the way, the creation of this Crowdsource the Truth video server gets us away from the control of Barry Diller. You can't delete the whole channel anymore like they have done in the past.
That's excellent.
So there's a lot of these people in media, Charles. It's not just a matter of being partisan. I really want to find out who were the journalists that were being influenced by Operation Mockingbird. We don't know the answer to that. What is this vehicle?
It's a New York police license plate. It's probably sensor.
That looks like an active denial weapon. Charles, that is a radio weapon.
Satellite, it says on it. Satellite. Now let's get away from it.
That
Nobody
is
in there.
Very probably something that is capable of projecting a microwave beam that would heat you up and force you to want to leave.
Let's get away from it.
Don't let it point at your genitals.
Thanks, Jason.
Just advice.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Very helpful.
Rockefeller Plaza.
Here we are in Rockefeller Plaza. So we have to talk, I think, also not just about Fauci, but with this development with Tom Barrack.
Oh yeah. And
Tom is a very successful private equity guy. My understanding is he's a rags to riches story in that he started with nothing. They're building up this for some purpose.
It's a TV show, it looks like. And I think this person's going to do some ballet dancing based on the shoes.
Or maybe did some. Maybe they're taking it down.
No.
Perhaps that's racist against shoes. To judge a shoe by its toes.
So Tom is a guy who had the role. He was a senior person in the Trump campaign. Indeed, at the Republican National Convention, he was the final guy to talk about Donald Trump right before Donald Trump spoke, accepting the nomination.
Did he have anything to do with CPAC?
I don't know about that, but let's just stay focused on what happened to him. So he was indicted yesterday. He was arrested and indicted for A, apparently acting as an unregistered foreign agent, and B, lying to the FBI when they came to talk to him about their suspicions.
You sure his name isn't Hunter Biden?
Yeah, well, that's my point. And so the interesting thing is, when you look into the chronology in the press release, and it may be inaccurate or may need to be modified, it appears to me as if this investigation began while Trump was still president.
Right.
And part of it also has to do with Barrack's role as chair of the inauguration committee for Trump's only inauguration. Now, if you look at the charges that were brought against Barrack, you would have to indict Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton.
For doing the same stuff.
Much worse for a much longer period of time. And Tom Barrack was not the Secretary of State of the United States of America or a senator. So Bill Clinton, just to take the point, in this particular case, they're saying that Barrack was trying to act on behalf of the United Arab Emirates. Now, the Emirates are...
How was he doing that?
Supposedly he was taking meetings with representatives and they would ask for certain favors and he would then intercede with people in the Trump administration on their behalf, is the argument. Now, compare that. UAE encompasses a number of emirates. One of them is Abu Dhabi, another is Dubai, Sharjah is yet another.
Right.
I forget how many in total there are.
I think there's 5.
Yeah, so Bill Clinton, from shortly after 2001, I'm not sure exactly the date, but he married up with Ron Burkle, who is another rags to riches story, also from California, who made his fortune initially in buying grocery store chains and fixing them up.
They moved that sculpture.
And selling them. So, but what Ron was trying to do is he was trying to get, he had this fund called, he has a fund called UKIPA, which is spelled, it's just a name, I don't know why he picked it, but it's YUCAIPA. And Bill became compensated by the UKIPA fund, in theory for opening doors for the fund, but I suspect in practice for introducing Ron to the United Arab Emirates, which has a big pile of money, either Abu Dhabi or the Dubai.
And they're not really allowed to give money to a candidate, right?
Absolutely not to a candidate, but to when you're running a private equity fund, as this guy Barrack is and as Burkle is, if you can get through the incredible series of checks that are required to get money from a sovereign wealth fund, and you actually make a return for that fund on the money, the world is your oyster, because these sovereign wealth funds have trillions all told of dollars. And by definition, when you have a pile that big, it's extremely difficult to outperform the market because you are the market. And so if you can the sovereign wealth funds are all trying to get early and lasting connections with private equity fund managers that have a distinctive, positive, impactful approach in the way they invest.
We're going to stop in there and get some evidence for the FBI?
Exactly. When we walk by it, we'll probably get arrested for that.
Right.
They walked by.
Anyone thinking about constructing a Lego Capitol is a patriot terrorist.
Right. So Bill Clinton, we don't know exactly because we haven't had a real FBI investigation into the Clinton Foundation ever, but it should be possible. I want to stay on the shady side, but it should be possible to, if you had a real FBI, to go back and say, all right, Bill Clinton's a former president of the United States. On our taxpayer dollars, he has had Secret Service protection on, I would hope, virtually every trip he made.
Not to Jeffrey Epstein's island.
Right, but the point is, there are records of that. The agents who go get paid, maybe they get overtime. There have to be records of where Bill Clinton has been most of the time since January 20th, 2001, when he and his wife, disgusting wife, and I mean that sincerely,
Tell us how you really feel.
when they left the White House. And with that, you should then be able to see, particularly places like Abu Dhabi, when a former president lands in parts of the world that are close to Iran, close to places where
Probably
we're actually
have measures.
in the middle of the Iraq fiasco.
Yeah,
the
they
second
don't
one.
just show up.
Yeah, there's got to be security has to have been performed on the whole plan in advance. There have to be a lot of records of all this. So what exactly was Bill Clinton doing, and how did he earn? Now that I see that, let's walk by La Grenouille.
I haven't actually seen a break.
This guy's not going to stop.
That's strange. They have a right-hand turning light. That's a unique and rare thing
You idiot.
here in New York. Oh, it's red, and he went through it.
Yeah, he's beeping us. So there have to be extensive records of exactly why did Bill Clinton get an interest in a private equity fund, and why was he put on the advisory board or whatever his formal role was, and why was he paid a lot of money, I mean millions of dollars a year, which are in his tax forms. You can look at it for yourself. How was that deal negotiated? What was he supposed to be providing? And then at the end of it, why did he walk away, which he did, from over, it is said, $10 million?
Bill Clinton did?
Yeah, that's, I mean,
I don't know anything about this.
Yeah, no, it's well documented. He had a falling out with Ron Burkle, and I think it has to do, maybe, Ron was on the board, or may still be on the board of the Los Angeles AIDS charity. Maybe Burkle saw what Clinton was doing with Chai and said, F this. So this, we're stopping here because, but in 98 or 99, Bill came to New York, and most likely McAuliffe and people like McAuliffe assembled a whole bunch of supporters, not technically to raise funds, although the way they got around it is what?
Austrian Cultural Forum?
Yeah. The way they got around it is that Bill, they had a dinner, and Bill at the end of the dinner gave his view of his post-presidency. Right, and so he wasn't technically fundraising, he was just giving a view of his post-presidency.
Right.
Of course, he hadn't registered to solicit funds, because he couldn't, he was a president of the United States, in New York, and no paperwork was done properly for that. But this is an example of, just one of many examples, and we don't have enough, we could spend...
But didn't you also say people were giving him cash afterwards?
That is, I think, there are other examples he writes about,
right,
where people would walk up to him and give him cash. One was actually in 2005, after Katrina, I think it was 2005. He was at, he says, a state fair, and some woman came up to him and handed him, let's not run for that.
A corn dog?
No, handed him like a 20 or 100, and he said, oh.
That's a switch. Usually he's giving the women the 20.
I know, but the point is that in August or early September of 2005, Bush Clinton Katrina Foundation wasn't even formed. There was no entity to raise money for, and certainly Bill was not authorized to raise money for it. So if you're going to make an issue under Bill Barr of Tom Barrack, this is going back in, I think, 19, where the formal investigation began, and you're going to move it along in 19, why would why didn't you move it further along prior to the election? Why didn't you notice a much more extreme and profoundly criminal conspiracy involving the same offenses that you're talking about for Tom Barrack? Why didn't you make an issue of Bill, Hillary, Chelsea Clinton, and all their foundations when you had a chance? You were investigating the Clinton Foundation back in 2001 through 4. Why didn't you notice any of this?
Well, it could have to do with not looking at it at all. Trust, maybe we should walk a little bit up Madison here, because I was walking around here yesterday, and I really regretted not bringing the camera, because there's just so many things out of business. That place over there,
Ladro?
Ladro, what is that? Watches?
No, I think it's that glass sculpture.
Oh, it's out of business. And then just as I was walking up here, maybe it was more on Lexington.
Thought it's on Lexington, you told me.
Yeah, well, we'll head right. But it's all around here. I mean, every week, when you don't come up here for a week or two, even though it feels like we've been here recently, there are still a lot of places out of business.
Like this one?
Right. I mean, this is really, literally, the heart of New York. We're in Midtown Manhattan.
Well, at one point, this was very much the heart for me, because I worked right here in that building, one across the street. This was a center for private equity, hedge. Let's go up here, one more walk by Dylan Reed. Hedge funds, law firms, rich people with their family offices and stuff, because it's very convenient. Especially
family office is like if you're a billionaire, you start your own investment thing, and it's just for you and your family.
You don't need to be a billionaire, but yeah, it's just an office where if you've got, let's say,
it's literally an office with people working for you all day, just investing your money.
It can be anything. It's like contemporary art. It can be anything you want, right? I mean, it's just the idea is that if you've got a family that let's say has multiple members in it that have money, instead of just putting $1 million each into an account, you get everybody together and you say to the funds that are tough to get into and other places, look, we're a substantial family, and we'll take care of how we split. Let's go across. We'll take care of how we split everything up. But we want to put $5 million in this and $5 million in that and $10 million in that. And it can be, when done properly, it can be an effective way of making sure that the younger generations don't blow all the money they're entitled to get. So this is
International Watch.
Well, no, this is where Dylan Reed used to be when I was a young man. In fact, I remember when we moved into here. I think we've told the story before, but we stand over here. When we moved in, just stand over here for a second. So I want to show you that. So we moved in, and there was this big. We'll pass it in a second. There was no garden like that, but there was a restaurant. And the managing directors, the senior people, all excited about the various design elements that went with this new building. And so we had to come down here for the opening of the waterfall, which was there.
Oh,
and
it's defunct.
The waterfall lasted for about 60 seconds because the person had not done the homework to understand that if you release water at a certain speed up there, it doesn't hug it
floods
it goes out, and it just drenched the people in the front row.
God. That had to be hilarious. This is Christie's Sculpture Garden.
Yeah, and so another thing that was amusing that I could tell you, I don't know if I've told you this story, but you know the movie, I think we've talked about it, Trains, Planes, and Automobiles?
Yeah.
One of the original opening scenes was filmed right here, and then also right on this street, and right on Park Avenue is what you see. So if we walk down this way, I was talking to some people here.
Are you in the movie?
No, I was talking to some people, and my big boss was this very athletic guy. He was about 6'5" or whatever, and he'd been in the Olympics. I don't want to say what sport. And he was one of these guys who was always on the phone, preoccupied, and he's walking down the street at high speed like this as they're filming the movie, and he's just not noticing, and it goes boink into something like that and hits the ground. It was pretty...
Wow. That was not his Olympic sport, I'm
no,
sure.
No. High Greek cuisine.
Hot Greek cuisine, yeah.
That's why no one's... I mean, I actually like Greek
Well,
food.
it's not lunchtime yet. Or is it? Actually, it's past lunchtime.
I think it's drink time. Now, this used to be a convenience, like a deli. It's always open.
I mean, I think that people who aren't from New York don't appreciate how actually shocking it is for something like that to go out of business, because basically, well, the booze, of course.
Well, this is not the rat catcher, Schumer. But
Oh, no, right. But I mean, for a deli in New York City to go out of business, that is an incredibly bad economic indicator.
right. It's put differently, in this neighborhood, it should be possible to make money on a deli.
Just from random people walking
Right.
around, buying sodas and cigarettes and whatever.
And the like, as you like to say.
Yeah, sandwiches and whatnot. So, I mean, there's a lot of that going on.
Right.
And
So-
there's a real change sweeping through New York City.
Right. So just, if I can go back to Barrack. So here we have a decision to go after the person who was centrally involved fundraising for Trump, in particular for the inauguration in January of 2017. Now, in the book Man of the World by Joe Conason about Bill Clinton's post-presidency, he confirmed something that many have suspected, that the largest donor to the Clinton Foundation, by far, over 50% in 1998 of the money, in 1998, was Bill Clinton's second inaugural committee.
Oh,
And that committee has never publicly accounted for how much money it collected or how much money it spent.
and so now they're going after Trump's guy for that.
Yeah. So they're doing that. It's, to me, you want to get a couple of these over here?
Oh yeah, we're back at the Ferrari place,
Yeah.
so that's cool.
Get one for like,
I think the one we saw the other day is either $890,000 or $980,000. So you probably only want to get 2 or 3.
yeah, exactly. And you, the insurance is probably what, $60,000 a year on that.
Who knows?
Let's cut across 55th Street.
Sure.
In there. We walk, or maybe a different one. We'll cut on 57th and go up Lex.
Whatever.
But
But isn't this the way they always do it, Charles? They've got everybody doing everything in the same crooked manner, and then when they want to jam somebody up, they can. That was very polite and safe of that lady to...
with no license plate, by the way. But the thing,
Bentley.
what?
Bentley.
But you see, that I think the aim here of the Eric Holders and the Barack Obamas and the Valerie Jarretts and the Bill Clintons is not simply to go after supporters of Trump and Trump himself. It's to destroy confidence in the system. That's their goal here. They're really happy to have this twin standard of justice. They're really happy to get people believing that forget the rules. It's about enforcement of the rules, which then increases
Selective enforcement.
which increases the marketability of crooked politicians, right? If you can really jam up your enemies,
Particularly the rich ones.
then you can ask for a lot more, demand a lot more money from your patrons. And so this is a course. When we think about, you're going to make an issue of Tom Barrack, and of course it wasn't like it came out and there was no coverage of it. Coordinated wall-to-wall coverage of it across CNN, MSNBC, and the mainstream networks.
Right.
Yet those same networks that insist on talking about this, and I think if it's true that he did this, he's innocent now until proven guilty. Let the justice system work. Let the man have his defense. Let the evidence be revealed. Let it be questioned, and let's get to the truth. If he was selling his access to Trump to a foreign power, he goes to jail, as he should. But that precedent should be set and stand and operate to
All these presidents.
to motivate, a look through all the presidents: George H.W., George W., Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State, Bill Clinton, all that stuff. But is this out?
I guess. I don't know what
This
that
used
is.
to be a big auction house.
It said Oxford on it.
No, this used to be an auction house, I know, because they auctioned a piece of furniture I'm interested in, and I went in there and I talked to them. This was a large and prominent auction house.
Not anymore.
A great location. In fact, this location is where I nearly knocked Donald Trump down, right here.
Oh wow, that's funny.
I was coming around, these windows were darker, and I was walking like this, and I came zipping around like that, and he was going zipping around like this.
He knocked into you and said,
No.
I'm sorry, I thought you
No.
were somebody else.
No, we both kind of like had good reflexes.
That's an
and-
Eddie Murphy joke.
Yeah, exactly.
Where he's saying he met Martin Luther the King.
So we were up here on 57th and Park, I think, a year and 3 months ago, or thereabouts, when there was no traffic.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, to that extent, things have returned, but I feel like, yeah, maybe it was on Lexington, but I was just overwhelmed by the number of businesses that continue to be going out.
We're almost there.
Now, so what? I don't know. Have you completed the thought on
Well,
that?
my thought is that you're going to go after Barrack, you're not going to go after McAuliffe, and you're not going to go after Hunter Biden.
Right.
I mean, to say that people have sold out America to UAE and should go to prison, and not consider how many people on the right and the left have sold America out to China, or as Trump would say, China.
What are these maniacs up to?
I don't know.
They're all like trying to run us over right now.
You have fun together.
The word is out,
That
Jason.
dude has the mask on in his car. I think his brain is oxygen deprived.
Yeah.
But to me, Charles, it seems like this is how they do it. They get people who maybe have never done an inauguration committee before, and there's some specific thing that they're not
Well,
doing
see,
properly, and then they know they can jam you up. And the people they like, they just never make an issue out of it.
you see,
They don't like, they put in jail.
So the rule, the inauguration committee rule, went into effect long before there was an income tax, because people were concerned just how easy and obvious a ploy it would be to not even have to bet on who's going to be the president. You know who the incoming president is. You have a ceremony, and you figure a way to get money or favors to that president on his way in the door before that president is really grounded in the ways of Washington on the inside. And so this law, as I say, predates the income tax, and it's just so fishy that Bill Clinton, in his second inauguration, he did fill one out. They did fill a report for the first, but not for the second, and that the leftover pile, in theory, from that went to the Clinton Foundation, which is just rubbish. I mean, there's no such thing as a leftover pile. When you give money away to an entity, there's supposed to be, with regard to the inauguration committee, a complete accounting for it by 90 days after the inauguration, and that's a law in theory. So now you're on Lexington. You want to head up north a
Yeah,
little bit?
let's just take a look here, because the devastation was pretty surprising.
Yeah, and so again, in the case of, we think back for a second to what happened with Barack Obama. He was elected in November 2008. What happened on December 1st and 2nd, 2008, Jason?
Hillary Clinton did something with Senate.
Bill Clinton held a Clinton Global Initiative in Communist China, in Hong Kong, which was
Right.
part of Communist China, at which supposedly 400 influence shapers paid money to go to a meeting controlled by Bill Clinton and Doug Bannon and his crew, just at the time when the world was wondering, what's the Obama administration going to do internationally? What's going to be the approach taken to get us out of the world, out of the mess we were in, financial crisis back then? And coincidentally, Hillary Clinton was named Secretary of State that day, December 1st.
When did England give Hong Kong back to China?
June 30th, I think, 1997.
97. Oh wow.
While Bill
I
was
didn't realize
president.
it was that long ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was China.
China.
China. Well,
Yeah, you got to
generally
learn how to
we
pronounce these
trust
things.
China.
Oh, that was the Container Store.
I know. I'm saying everything is out of business.
And my hat's off to the Container Store. I mean, how you can make money selling air.
They actually sell good closet stuff.
I've been in there.
But look at that. Chick-fil-A and Taco Bell, that's new.
And this is the Bloomberg building, of course,
Which
which
is?
right
This?
there, yeah. The lower floor, well, it's Beacon something tower, but Bloomberg occupies the lower floors. And
I see.
really beautiful, really beautiful. I think what happened is that whoever was in charge of that project just said, look, Mike forgot about this $1 billion over here. I want you to do whatever you can do that's architecturally possible. So they actually have, this is out, they have a feature in the Bloomberg that's like the ooh and ah feature of the main place where you land when you're going on air. They have a curved escalator. So an escalator that goes around the corner.
Oh no, that was Wall Street Journal where we went.
Yeah.
What is Ashkenazi acquisition?
No idea.
So this is out.
So generally speaking, if you raise an excellent point. Let's get away from that bus. But generally speaking, if you're in a part of a city where you have a billionaire over here, heavily wedded to this location, I think he was an investor in the Container Store. I forget what that thing was. That might have been a very fancy restaurant. I'll have to look. There was a very fancy French restaurant in there. You got this, the entire street is out here, across the street.
That's what I'm saying.
It's kind of tough to develop a comparable for a retail owner to say,
They're all worth nothing.
you need to come in here and spend $150 a square foot because that's vacant and that's vacant and this is vacant and something else is vacant, and we're in the center of New York. But New York is back, baby. It's back.
Yeah, I mean, we're not trying to be negative. We're just trying to show people. Well, I mean, there's a difference between being realistic about a horrible situation and being negative, and also being Pollyanna about a disaster that you aren't properly facing.
Well,
now, the other thing I noticed yesterday is this. Somebody's making money testing everybody. Oh, this genius has the idea of backing up to kill people now.
From Washington,
D.C. Makes sense that he's an idiot.
And thinking.
Charles, look, these guys are testing people here for COVID. So obviously somebody's paying for that. All this stuff that's free, somebody's paying for it.
And this is Bloomingdale's over here, which at one point was, that store is so annoying here in New York for me. I don't like stores in general, but the last time I went in there, it was rigged so that when you go in, you can't immediately come out. You have to walk around and up and down and whatever.
It is confusing, I agree with that.
This is out, whatever this was.
People are going to the Hamptons, I think. Yeah, this is out. I'm telling you, we're now in a section where, other than Bloomingdale's and Taco Bell, that's, most everything is going out of business.
It's Cohen's Fashion Optical. And actually that used to be, I guess they knocked down a bunch of old buildings across the street from Bloomingdale's there. So maybe another big tower, in theory, is going to go up there. Just at a time when there's tons of vacant space.
And look, here's another testing for COVID. Lab Q.
They should have testing centers for being stupid.
Well, I think they might be one and the same. But we're in the neighborhood now where I get my hair cut, and so I have some conversations with the proprietor of the hair salon. He was under the impression that mask mandates and lockdowns are coming back. Yeah.
So this area is not yet knocked down. So you notice the prevalence of 4 and 5 and 6 story buildings. I don't know what the zoning is, but you can imagine these are older buildings. You can imagine there's going to come a time relatively soon when people are going to say, you know what, let's just buy these 4 buildings, knock them down, and put up a bigger thing.
Giant.
But you're right.
So there are a few places that remain open, but it's really not good for this neighborhood, not good for New York. We've also seen, I don't know if we were rolling at the time that we were commenting on this, but a lot of business types coming in that you would have never seen before that would not have been able to afford the real estate. And, it's a separate conversation whether that economic condition is good or bad, but it's an indicator of just a dramatic shift here in New York City.
Well, here we have the. Be careful. That's good.
Yeah, this used to be a good pizza place, but that went out a long time ago.
No. You want to stop and get some Jewel pods?
No. This place is out of business here, a restaurant. Oh yeah, there's a CBD place coming in, got THC.
And always a great sign when you start seeing these oriental spas up there. Generally not a sign that the neighborhood's going up.
Now, this American Kennels place always has some cute little dogs in the window, but people don't like that. So here's another place out of business. The hamburger place is out of business.
Hamburglar. Yeah, this is in this area right here is sort of downscale. Burger Heaven, I wonder if the whole chain went out. It used to be all over the place.
I'm only aware of this one.
Oh no, we're all over the place.
Well, it's out.
They specialized in cheeseburgers with like
I think they're building something new though. Does it say what it is? Something
to sell
Chinese,
liquor.
probably? Oh really?
Manhattan restaurant tenant build out, including water, waste vent, and gas for kitchen, restrooms, and HVAC.
So we're in this mode definitely where new types of businesses are coming in, and it's kind of interesting to observe what those are. Big and Olive gone, this place gone.
64 POE switch. Another one?
Well, just from here to about 66th Street has always been not marginal, but mixed, I would say.
Lower rent.
Well, not lower rent, not prime enough to be super expensive Upper East Side, not far enough uptown to be super expensive East Side, but technically on the Upper East Side. And here we have a poor beggar.
Yeah, but it was carnage up here from a retail standpoint, so I thought people would be interested in seeing that.
So is Jill Biden on her way to Tokyo?
Is he?
Jill, not Joe.
Oh, is she?
I think so. She was supposed to go to the
What
Olympics.
is she doing in Tokyo?
Representing the U.S. in the Olympics.
Oh, I thought everything is going wrong with the Olympics and they're going to cancel it.
Generally, I mean, Jason, I'm no expert on entertainment, but when you get a sponsor in like a country like Japan, and it's not Weed World, and it's not Vagisil.
Wasn't it Toyota?
It was Toyota, exactly.
And they're like, forget it, we're not even sponsoring.
But they've
this.
already signed up, right? They had signed up, and at the last minute, right before the thing was supposed to start, they say, you know what, we're out. And they probably lost a fair amount of money. I don't think you get to say you're a sponsor without paying.
Right.
And then they pulled their ads as well.
Why would they do that? That's
Well,
strange.
because they know it's going to be a hot
Associated
mess.
with COVID.
It'll be a hot mess, I'm
So
sure.
this is out right here. Is Toyota the biggest company in Japan?
It's one of the biggest. It's remarkable, and it's an outsider company.
What do you mean an outsider company?
Well, in Japan they have
Not
like
part of the
Sony.
empire?
No, Sony was run by that Maverick Merida, I think Merida, whatever, and
Matsuhisa?
well, no, you're thinking of what?
Panasonic is Matsuhisa.
Matsushita?
Or whatever.
Yeah. So, but Toyota and Sony are both famous
You want
because
to keep going up? Or you
yeah,
want-
up to 66 then over. 66 is a big cluster, just to see the difference. So here's an example of a nicer building, a co-op building most likely. This is, nice, overpriced furniture. I shudder to think how expensive these things are.
Well, and it's also just interesting to observe the type of businesses that have been able to stay in business versus those that are not.
Yeah. Well, to get into a co-op building like this one, to get a lease is not so easy. And once you're in, you really don't want to leave
I
unless you
think
go
also
out.
a lot of these businesses aren't necessarily about making money so much as somebody somewhere needs something to do, and
Sure.
this is a business they have.
It's better than sitting on the street in front of the front of the closed down business begging for money, which sadly too many people are doing.
Yeah.
So now you see how it changes suddenly when
Yeah.
we go this way. Yeah, so 66 is busy.
What's this? A church?
Yeah, it's a part of a church complex.
Nice stairs.
Yeah. The rectory is, I think, where the minister may live.
Sounds pretty loud.
I believe that's an example of a meathead.
Well, his helmet wasn't even on, so perhaps he could test the durability of that meathead. Now, Charles, the other major thing I think to discuss is Fauci getting yelled at
Oh, that was hilarious.
and Rand Paul. I mean, I thought it was great.
Well, again, there comes a point, I think, where what's the phrase? You jumped the shark or whatever.
Yes.
And I think that happened for Fauci last year. And
Right.
for me, it happened when he said it's okay, you know, watch out, but you can go on a Tinder date. Right? I said, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. No, well, Tinder is not all hookers. Keep trying.
That's right. I go on a Tinder date, but don't pay her. You know, that's prostitution.
It's like, how much advice do we need to take from this idiot?
Exactly. And the fact that he just won't stop talking. And he really, I watched some of it. I couldn't bear watching all of it, but he just
It's
folded like a
hilarious.
cheap suit. And it got almost to the point of, elementary school
Yes.
playground taunts, where you're a liar. No, you're a liar. Your mother's a liar.
Yeah.
Your whole
Is it-
family are liars.
I want to say on the record that you are lying, Rand Paul. You don't know what you're talking about. And then the next person to speak after Rand Paul was like, Dr. Fauci, we've just heard an amazing assault on your credibility. Do you have anything to say? Yes, I'd like to add to the official record that Rand Paul is an asshole. And he's just like going on and on about nothing.
Now, when are you going to admit that you're related to Fauci? Because you do that
Well, they
accent so
say
well.
everybody is originally from Brooklyn, so perhaps that's true. But I don't know of any Italian sections of the Goodman family. You never know.
You never know, Jason.
Perhaps I get my height from that side.
So for those who don't know New York, now we're on, what is this?
Now it's looking like it's going to rain again. But wait a minute, Charles. Is anything going to happen, you think, with this now criminal referral? We've heard so many, like that's the, just wait till your father gets home, and then nothing happens.
Well, see, they played it. One of the reasons I held a piece I was going to do for the American Thinker in March of 2020, criticizing Tedros and the WHO, is if you go out on a limb and say you really shouldn't be concerned about this, or it's not as severe as people say, and then there's a mutation or development
Variant.
that something happens, some new disease or something comes out at you from left field, you're out there in public saying don't take it seriously, and then the death count goes up by 20 million and you look pretty irresponsibly stupid. So I would hope that no one affiliated with this program is on purpose getting ready to do something that more dire than we've already experienced. But at the very least, when you take a big step back and try to strip away whatever your political perspective may be and just say, are we better off in July 2021 than we were in February 2020? And I think the answer is absolutely we're much worse off.
Yeah.
And do we have more comfort with the health system in July 2021 in America, forget about in Uganda or India, than we did in February 2020? And I think the answer is, once again, we have less confidence.
Right.
In fact, a statistic came out, which is probably rubbish, but it claims that for the first time in a long time, I think since World War I, the average life expectancy of Americans fell by over a year.
Wow.
That's a lot. Yeah, people.
More moving trucks.
I don't think they're moving in.
I agree.
I think they're moving out.
Oh, now it really seems like it's going to rain again.
Well, that's good. We could
We'll
seek asylum at the UN. We're almost there.
The Concord. We could get back downtown at Mach 1.6, Charles.
Yeah.
Then you could yell at Frank Sinatra. Was it Frank Sinatra?
Yep, it was
People have heard that
a
story.
bloated version of Frank Sinatra.
Oh, speaking of Frank Sinatra, there's some Spotify, I think, or maybe it was Netflix, I don't remember. But Ronan
Oh yeah.
Farrow,
Yeah.
who, like, how can anyone, that kid looks exactly like Frank Sinatra. He's a blonde Frank Sinatra. How could anyone possibly think that Woody Allen had anything to do with the genetic formation of that person?
How many people voted for Joe Biden?
Right. I sometimes am able to push Mia Farrow's buttons with select tweets.
Uh-huh.
But actually, there's a lot of questions to be asked of Mia Farrow. She was the star of Rosemary's Baby, which was directed by Roman Polanski and produced by Robert Altman, I think. Robert Altman, is that it?
You're the film school graduate, my friend.
Who was the guy that was dating Faye Dunaway? I think it's Robert Altman. Anyway, all these guys are coming up and are being spoken about in the context of Son of Sam and the Process Church and all that stuff for people who have been watching the videos with Manny Grossman. So that's interesting. Mia Farrow.
Let's go.
And the whole concept of pretending that somebody is your son when they're not. Obviously not.
Yeah.
That's interesting, isn't it?
It is. It is indeed.
And Frank Sinatra was also the guy who the horse head went into the bed for the deal that he couldn't say no to in The Godfather.
Oh, is that
It was
right?
Frank Sinatra. Well, that's
In real life?
supposedly based on, how Frank Sinatra got the role in From Here to Eternity.
Huh. Yeah, I will say this about Frank Sinatra. In his prime, he could sing. He really could sing well. It's funny we're talking about Frank Sinatra. This, I think, used to be a John's Pizza.
Like the one from the Village.
Yeah, but it wasn't quite as good as John's Pizza. Right around here, either this or maybe the next
300
video.
and a half.
And here, this is not closed circuit. This is closed circuit TV. So it's closed.
Yeah. If you're not wearing clothes
Right.
and spell it incorrectly.
Well, spelling correctly is racist, basically. It's just racist.
Yeah.
And here's another trick. Again, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and
Leave all the garbage out.
garbage and plastic bags. That's not going to get, that's not going to create problems inside the bags, and nothing's going to escape from those bags, and nobody's going to rip open those bags. For the cans, of course, nobody will do that.
Well, also, you could throw away anything, including a bag filled with COVID excrement, and just leave it on the street for somebody to tear open. There's no control of that. There's no protection from that. There's loads of people digging through there for soda cans.
Right. Yeah, you could take, I don't know what would really get a gross culture quickly, like spoiled cheese or milk. It's past its, put it in a cup. Yeah, I think we better find a place under
We're
the.
about to get rained on, I think.
They're going to rain on our parade, Jason?
It's okay.
A friend of mine's parents owned one of these houses. I forget which one. And we would have many parties in there. It might have been this one here.
So what else is on your mind today, Charles?
Well, been doing a lot more work on the Clinton Foundation.
Hard to believe you could do more work.
Well, there's a lot published on it, and correcting all these bad papers takes a lot of time. But I'll just put the folks who think they can protect the Clinton Foundation on notice. I don't need additional evidence to prove this fraud. I don't need additional evidence to prove that the FBI knew about the fraud and let it escalate. I just don't, because it's there for everybody to see. And if you want to follow my thinking, just go and look at the 2005, in quotes, diabolical, not in quotes, audit of BKD dated
Who
June
called
9th.
it diabolical?
I do.
Oh.
June 9th, 2006, which is replete. What?
Stonehenge, Charles.
Oh, that's
Built
a
by Druids.
There are a number of buildings that are in this stone. This is Stonehenge on 65th Street. It's like there's a bunch of them on Park and elsewhere.
Sorry to interrupt. You don't need additional evidence.
Right, to prove that in June 9th, 2006, the Clintons had a massive problem. I don't know, do you want to go sit down first?
Yeah.
So the problem was that Hillary was running for re-election to the U.S. Senate. Jesus.
Good sound system.
Yeah, and she couldn't afford, here's store after store is that, she couldn't afford to lose the primary or lose the re-election in 2006, so she needed a slew of money. In order to get that money, they had this plan to have something called Unitaid get formed. And ultimately, it was organized September 19th, 2006, on the premise that a majority of the early amounts donated by Unitaid, an NGO based in Geneva inside WHO, would go to the Clinton Foundation HIV/AIDS initiative, which by June 9th, 2006 did not exist. It had never, by our research, had never actually been lawfully organized as a charity, yet it had taken money, including $750,000 from the Gates Foundation in 2005. So they had serious problems, and they had to find an accounting firm dumb enough, or with people dumb enough in it, to think that it's a good idea to issue something they called an audit that has many big mathematical errors in it that served in the books to hide $65 million of money that had been stolen from the Clinton Foundation by borrowing $28.5 million that the Clinton Foundation didn't need to borrow, it shouldn't have borrowed, and by overvaluing the real estate by $40 million and offsetting that by a fake liability for accounts payable that they didn't actually have. The net effect of all that was to goose the balance sheet by $64.5 million and enable the people running this criminal enterprise to steal $64.4 million, so long as those entries remain in the books. And you can follow that chain right the way through. In 2006, what they did, which is interesting, is they had to put money back in to balance the books, some $26.3 million. And that money was money that I think had been stolen from other donors and not reported in the accounting for previous years. But they needed to obviously they didn't have a footnote saying, we stole this money between 2002 and 2005, we need to put it back in, so we're not going to tell you exactly what we did, because that would get us in trouble and you'd be upset.
You're not going to like this.
They just attempted to bury it. So,
one quick thing to interject, Charles. Look at this financial anomaly across the street. The VIP cinema experience. Wouldn't you open a high-end movie theater right in the middle of the movie industry going out of business?
I wouldn't, but maybe.
Well, look at all the space that thing. Manhattan mini storage. So what the hell? That's new.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they added this money back.
Right, but meaning that they hadn't declared it before, so that money was stolen too from the original donors. If you took that money and you were supposed to spend it maybe for climate or CGI or some reason, you didn't declare it, and now you find yourself in a hole where you got to make the thing balance, so you put it back in. Make it that some 90 million by the end of 2006 had been, a minimum of 90 million had been stolen.
Diverted.
Through the operation of the Clinton Foundation. And then beyond that, we won't know until we have a real investigative team with subpoena power and guns and whatever. We're never going to know exactly how much money they stole from Unitaid and other government and big foundation donors and corporate donors, because we don't have the ability to force. Let's let this woman.
What?
Let her go a little bit.
Oh, sure.
And then we'll try to get underneath the.
Yeah, I think it's going to explode with rain any moment, but got a lot of vacant buildings there.
Crowdsource the truth. Space for rent, man. That used to be a comedy center, didn't it? Comedy club, I think.
Maybe. But I mean, this is another neighborhood that's just super out of business.
Yeah.
Why would they open a giant movie theater?
Yeah. Goodwill actually is an excellent, or was an excellent operation,
I
but
thought
generally,
somebody said that it's making money and taking everybody's stuff.
well, it used to be decent. It used to be a place where you'd watch yourself. You'd donate your used underwear, like Bill Clinton, but not your used underwear, and they would sell it for nominal sums to people down on their luck. But generally speaking, when you see a Goodwill store, you don't say this is a great place to do a luxury real estate project development. Now that said, we are now pretty close to the East River over there.
The luxury movie theater really is bothering me because we're at a time when most people are looking for more economical ways to enjoy motion pictures. Well, we got hit again right there, so I've restarted it. Let's see if that cooperates.
May not, because you're underneath this.
Yeah, it's open enough that I think it might be okay. We'll see in a moment. Let's see. Oh, I guess it's TJ Maxx. I thought it was a supermarket.
I think there is on the other side. Now the sun's back out.
It's very strange weather, wouldn't you say?
I would.
Kind of like pouring and nice. Where is the that thing that Rutger Hauer hijacks in Nighthawks and kills somebody and throws them off the tram? It's right around here, isn't it?
It's on 2nd Avenue. It's right over there, you see.
Oh yeah. What is it called? The Roosevelt Island. Have you ever been on that?
Nope.
Me neither. People who enjoy.
I shouldn't say it. I might have been on it once.
People
Maybe.
who enjoy Sylvester Stallone 70s police classics will like that.
Was that thing up in the 70s?
I remember the first time I ever became aware of it was that movie Nighthawks about Sylvester Stallone and Billy D. Williams are fighting Rutger Hauer, and
that
he
was-
hijacks that thing.
Wouldn't that be in the 90s?
Nah. Maybe it was 1980. But I remember I wanted to see it because of that Lando Calrissian and Rocky.
More stores out. I don't know if people have seen.
Unbelievable, right? It's just one after the next.
As a guess, I think in part because the people are thinking of tearing these buildings down.
Well, maybe.
Expert tailor's doing well. And Geisha, not so well.
Wow.
It's got to be pretty depressing to be a restaurant owner and have nobody come into your restaurant for long periods of time.
Well, and you know what the thing is? I've been going far less frequently to restaurants than I used to. That's a great idea. Jam on the gas right as the light turns red.
Well-
Want everybody over and block the... What is this idiot doing?
It's a
Now he's going to back up and kill us.
better not. He's driving a truck. He's an environmental specialist. He's probably hard at work on the Green New Deal.
Well, the thing that's happening, Charles, is that even in restaurants that are open, at least what I've noticed in the minimal number of times I've been going to restaurants, your progress is underway, according to these guys. There's less waiters there because probably a lot of people had to get other jobs and aren't coming back, and you probably can't make as much money as you once did as a waiter. I remember I went to Chicago. I asked that woman working there, and she said she had to work almost twice as many hours to make the same amount of money. That would certainly motivate a certain segment of that workforce to not return to the job.
Right, and I think you also have patrons, I mean, who've now been at this over a year, and people who used to go out 5 nights a week, but aren't, or cooking at home,
Got used to it.
and are saving a lot of money.
That's me.
Right.
What's with this?
Norbert.
Something from Norbert's funeral. What happened to Norbert?
My son is dying.
Your son?
It's your son?
My son.
Wow, I'm so sorry.
Very
Of
sorry
what?
to hear that.
Of what?
July 1st, had an accident.
What?
July 1st, had the accident.
Oh, an accident?
Caroline, kahosh.
I don't think she wants to talk.
Okay, thank you. What language are you speaking?
I don't know. Thank you, douchebag.
What happened there?
Well, I mean, we're trying to make a light, and he's just cutting.
There's a lot of people walking around now, Charles. You know, there were some things about the pandemic that I liked. New York unencumbered was a unique experience.
Now you think, you got to wear a mask, but this fruit on the street, that's safe, right? Because the COVID virus.
Wow, the doctor's out of business.
The COVID virus knows that that they're not going to light those little particles on a speck of fruit. No.
Well, I
Wouldn't
told
do
you
that.
when we were in Philadelphia at the hotel for breakfast, they had milk out in a pitcher,
Not covered.
unrefrigerated, totally open. Right.
Well, it wasn't milk. It was beyond milk.
Maybe. It's milk plus
It
COVID.
was vomit. Sorry. So this is, we're 1 block, I think, or 2 blocks away from Sutton Place. It's to our left, my left. It's really fancy, expensive stuff.
We've been over there before.
Yeah. And now that it's warmer, we have all manner of scooters and bicycles and electric bikes and people whizzing up the correct direction and other people coming out of nowhere the wrong direction and coming on sidewalks and
What is this thing right here?
Terrence Cardinal Cook building.
Who is
St. John
Terrence
the
Cardinal Cook?
Evangelist. He's a famous, I don't know, cardinal. But this is the New York Catholic Center, so respectful. And now we're headed over to land that the Rockefeller family donated
All right.
to create the United
Yes.
Nation of Corrupt Globalists.
Well, we can see if they have the flags up today. It seems like every day they have another reason to not have the flags up.
I think the flags are your Charlie Brown and the football. Or who was the football? Was it Charlie?
Lucy,
And was it Linus and
Bolts it away.
from Charlie Brown or from somebody else?
Yeah, Charlie Brown.
Those flags are your football, I think.
What is this guy doing?
I would say went to the right of him.
Kick my big toe.
Old-fashioned store
This place fixes TVs and VCRs.
and vacuums.
Oh, but look at their address.
999. Let's keep walking.
Charles, maybe I asked you this. Had you ever seen, I think it's defunct now, but there was a, like a Wiccan bookstore called like the something child, the Wicked Child or something like that?
I'm not down with Wiccans.
A cult bookstore.
I'm
Yeah,
not
me
down
neither.
with
I've
any
never
of
been
that.
there.
The only thing that I find interesting is this guy John D.E.E.
Oh yeah.
We've talked about him in the past. He was some kind of genius, and the ciphers that he has written and used in various books, nobody to this day has been able to translate. And he was close confidant, or Queen Elizabeth I worked closely with him, and
And he's all about the occult, right?
yeah, absolutely.
So what were the ciphers? What were they for?
Again, because nobody's been able to figure out what they mean, nobody really knows. But he and others were on was trying to manufacture gold, kind of like Bitcoin.
Alchemy, right.
Kind of like Bitcoin,
Gold from lead.
Shitecoin. A lot of bagel stores. They seem to be making it.
Might be the
Good to
Jewish
know that they
version of
have
a pizza place.
They have masks and gloves. Good to know.
In the bagel
That's what it
place?
said.
Man, that's weird.
Bagels, masks, and gloves. You want lots or masks? With your,
Smoked mask.
I've seen a lot of Starbucks out. A lot of.
Well, I mean, I wonder if they're...
It could have something to do with the fact that their coffee is miserably poor.
Well, I was going to say, I think that just a lot of people aren't like going to work in an office anymore where they would line up there in the morning and buy their coffee.
Right, but honestly, I'm no expert on coffee, but I know the difference between battery acid water and coffee.
Well, you
And
also know about managing gigantic companies like that. And if you said, hey, wait a minute, we have 400 places all over New York City. These 150 make a lot of money and these other ones don't. Let's just close them.
Exactly. Well, typically they'd have to get by their way out of a lease, but I suppose if you declare a pandemic,
Yeah, they probably
maybe you
a lot of-
have an out.
Well, it's also been a year and a half. Maybe a lot of these places, their leases are up and they're out.
Used Lucky Laundry doesn't seem to be too lucky.
No.
It's closed.
I mean, so many things are closed. Oh, we've been by here before.
QQ Nails.
Nail salon.
Cute little
Yeah. Let's see if we're.
Kids
oh,
of
this
the-
is an electric bike
hate those things.
place.
So electric
Let's see what
bikes
our-
strike me as so dangerous.
Well, particularly for pedestrians.
Well,
Oh yeah?
I'm getting up there in age and I'm around much older people, and
Headphones. Hang on a second.
sure.
That's the first time that's ever occurred. That was leg. Sorry.
That's all right.
We should be now. Yeah, we're fine.
So if you're getting up in years, you're above 60 and your eyesight's not as good as it used to be, and something comes whizzing out of left field at you and you react suddenly and you slip, you can seriously hurt yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And you can particularly, as I did last year, tripping on the sidewalk. I mean, when you're not expecting it and you got your, foolishly as I did, hands in your pocket,
Oh, you gotta be careful with that.
you get some sense knocked in or out of you, as the case may be. And here we have a collection of people who are, I
Well,
wonder,
this is, I guess,
Bike Messenger Center.
all these guys seem to be delivering food and stopping to have,
Tequila.
lunch or whatever. Yeah, right. That's the other thing that's happening is that some of these outside places that used to be delis are now kind of bars because they have these seats on the streets where people can buy beers and sit there and drink and become rowdy, and you're walking by and being forced to interact with a bunch of rowdy people that you would have otherwise avoided in the past because they'd be inside a bar getting rowdy.
Well, I'll tell you what, today in the Washington Square Park, we had a new crazy person. I won't be too descriptive, but this is a person who had headphones on, dark sunglasses, and was yelling so loudly, 3 benches away from me, crap about Trump and Trump family and Republicans and how the rich are going to basically be eaten and the reckoning is at hand and all this kind of stuff. He was yelling so loudly that a guy I was on the phone with could hear it. He could hear what we were talking about. It's seldom happens. And this guy went on and on and on, talking about how Trump's team has turned on him and they're turning him in and he's going to go to prison. And
It's a CNN viewer, I think.
I doubt so. I think it's more like a Colt 45 viewer. So it's pretty nice here.
This is pretty empty.
No, but nice enough. Nice.
Sea.
I like the sea, right? Always kind of partial to the sea.
Right.
You don't have any C's in your name, do you?
Nowhere.
That's what I'm saying.
I could buy a vowel.
So yeah, this is the top of, over here on the left is a UN complex, and I look at that and I think demolition
Yeah.
would be a great plan. Just say, I really wish somebody will run on the plan of the United States is going to drop out of every globalist organization. We are
Wasn't
going
that Trump?
He didn't do it though.
Well,
And
that's true.
and we will only consider supporting international organizations that are transparent and that operate other than in a high-cost headquarters in Geneva or Paris or Nairobi or whatever. None of this, we're sending money abroad so that all this bureaucrat class can in the UN, they don't pay taxes.
Who doesn't pay taxes?
Employees of the UN don't pay taxes. It's a globalist organization. So I don't know how it works for Americans,
But they want a global tax.
of course they want to tax other people, Jason.
Yeah, we're not going to pay tax, but you're going to pay us tax.
Of course. So, but honestly, just this shit did not work, right? I mean, you can say the League of Nations. I don't know if you know this, but
Yeah, failed.
yeah, and we didn't join it, and it failed.
I guess that's why it failed.
So then the Rockefellers, now they wouldn't have any ulterior motives, not monopolists, right? They say, well, we'll give you this land over here. Why don't you create a new thing, the UN? And just make sure you don't ever prosecute any of us. And the period 1945 to the present has been, I don't think there's been a single year where there hasn't been some sort of major conflict.
That the UN gets involved in messing up.
The UN is there, nonetheless there's these major conflicts. So it's not clear to me, I mean, the argument that if the UN weren't there, the conflicts would be worse is bullshit.
Right, it hasn't done anything substantial to curtail these conflicts, you mean?
Yeah, so let's try the alternative approach. This is not, I don't believe, generating tax revenue for New York City or New York State. So let's abandon this project, dig it up. If some billionaire wants, if the Rockefellers want to take all these buildings away and put them in Upper Volta or Burkina Faso, as it's now called, great. But we're going to knock this shit down.
Look, still no flags. We could ship it out on a trailer, Charles. It would have to say oversized load.
Give it to the Clinton Foundation. That's always the solution. Just give it to them. But anyway.
Where the hell are the flags?
I don't know. And what is that? That's a sword or a cross?
That, we've looked at that before. It's a, this is another one of these Russian Boris. What's the name of that breed?
It's a Labradoodle.
Labradoodle. Wow. That's the strangest looking Labradoodle I've ever seen. I don't know where we cut out there, but we cut out. Now let's just see here. People will know what this is. Maybe it's not St. Michael slaying a dragon, but it's something. Something we've observed in the past, that there it is again. Let's see if we're back here. Buff, people say. I wonder when that started. I was looking at the traffic for a while. Hope we haven't lost too many viewers. Sorry, Charles. So that's...
Are we over? Or?
No, we're back.
So yeah, here we are walking next to the headquarters of a perfectly or imperfectly useless organization that specializes in issuing pronouncements that nobody listens to, while diverting, in a sort of polite way, stealing hundreds of billions of dollars that's meant to go towards the poorest people in the world. Instead, these people have high-sounding issue communiques.
What the hell does that mean?
What should the world's diet be? None of your fucking business.
Will food become a streaming service? Will machine learning regrow ancient forests? Should we patent nature? They've already done that.
Communes instead of city? I think the answers to all these questions are Michael Garner, Eric Brown, burn it down, burn it down. That was the chant that...
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Well, when whoever was the second one of those to be grievously injured or killed, that's what one of the protests were yelling all night. But I mean, yeah, it's interesting buildings, but what the hell do these people do that's positive?
Would you like me to ask them where the flags are?
No.
I knew you would say that.
We don't need to be on any more lists.
They're running out of lists to put me on.
The lists of lists.
It is interesting that they're never there.
Honestly, can you name one thing that the UN, one positive thing that they've accomplished?
I am unaware of any. I seem to hear them coming up all the time in investigations of sexual abuse and
now
financial...
that Nimrod, Tony Blinken, who ran the Biden Institute, by the way, we haven't yet poured through their non-90s, we will. But that idiot, who's the Secretary of State, has invited the UN in to examine the civil rights conditions here in the United States.
To audit how racist the United States is.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
why?
We don't have open-air slave markets as You don't have open-air slave markets as we do today in Libya, but the Libyan emissary is going to tell us that we're racist.
Now, wait a minute. There are some flags.
Jason,
So perhaps I spoke too soon.
you did. You
Well,
did.
why are they only up?
They're coming
Look,
down.
That's interesting.
Well, it's getting late in the day. Maybe it's their shift is changing. They've got to come down or something.
I guess that's it.
They
Well,
were.
that's good. That's a nice little piece of the story for us to show viewers.
Yeah, there we go. The person taking the flag down probably makes $125,000 a year
And they don't have to pay taxes.
and works maybe in the morning and the afternoon.
I mean, you've been inside there. It does look like an impressive office building, and it looked good in North by Northwest.
I mean, it sounds impressive, but then when you look at the track record,
Yeah, let's go to this side. We're getting radio interference.
you just better hurry. Or
Yeah, we better. Wow, these guys are just really gunning it. No regard for whether we're going to make it across or not.
stay down first, or is this bad?
No, this is fine. So there hasn't been too much talk about what's going on in Cuba or Haiti.
Cuba?
Cuba or Haiti.
Yeah, well, those are two very embarrassing things, and like Colin Kaepernick is, dumber than AOC, which is saying
What
something.
did he do?
Well, he's praising Cuba and saying the reason Cuba has problems is all due to the United States sanctions and nothing to do with Cuba. And
But
people.
that's not what the people in Cuba say. They say they want
well,
democracy and not a dictatorship.
people with an eighth of a brain, who are much smarter than Colin Kaepernick, have experience in Cuba, family experience in Cuba, including. What's going on? Who's he?
I don't know. I do hear it though. Is it that woman on the phone?
I can't tell. The lonely goat herd yelling at the United Nations. Let's keep going.
Yeah, I don't know. This is where there was a Cuba demonstration some time ago, but it doesn't seem like there's really anything happening now.
Yeah. But people who have recent experience in Cuba.
I think that guy's got a Cuban flag. Cuba? What's going on with Cuba? Can we talk to you for a minute?
Yeah.
So tell us what the latest is. It feels like it's falling out of the news.
So the latest is a little tough since a lot of people on the island are very restricted with the internet.
Right.
So unfortunately, there's people still on the street right now getting, beaten up, killed. There's a lot of people disappeared right now. But due to the lack of internet access in Cuba, there's not many, latest news available for us to actually
Do you
know
have
what's
family
going on
there?
right now. I actually do, yes.
And are you able to reach them and call them?
Yeah, my cousin, he was able to access internet through a VPN called Phone. But many people, they
What
delete.
Pfizer Fund?
PSIPHON. That's the
Pfizer.
name of the application.
Pfizer Fund. Okay, got it.
But the actual regiment, they went on TV saying that they were going to threaten to shut down the phone lines if they didn't delete the application. Obviously, there's no way they can tell what's on your phone,
Right.
but the scare tactics,
Maybe they
persuaded
can, though.
Maybe they can, maybe they can't.
What would you say to Americans who
Most
don't?
people are persuaded to delete it though.
Well, what would you say to Americans who really don't know much about Cuba at all? To somebody like Colin Kaepernick, the football player, who's saying that Cuba's actually a socialist paradise, and
Go to
it's
Cuba for 10 days.
exactly. Well, I mean, how bad?
I invite every
Right.
American with that type of ideology, go to
Right.
Cuba for 10 days,
Right.
and they're gonna have a different
Yeah.
experience.
Go to Cuba for 5 minutes.
Go to Cuba for 5 minutes. I give them 10 days so they can shower with
Right.
a bucket. They can wait in line in the bread line to
Right.
get a piece of bread that's harder than a rock.
Right. And your family, obviously, some of it came from Cuba. Most people do that because they want a better life than what they had.
Well, I'm here because my grandfather, he went to a concentration camp. It's called the UMAP.
What's that?
it's the OMAP. They send it. They sent religious people to that camp because in that time it was illegal to go to church openly.
Wow.
Wow.
My grandfather was a devout Catholic, so when they started seeing that he was still going to church despite, you know, the aura that was going on, they threatened him. They came to his house and they took him to across the island to the OMAP.
Right.
And how long have you been living in the United States?
I came to the United States with 8 months. I'm 23 now. They threatened my father if he kept going to church that they were going to tie him up and put him on the train tracks.
Wow.
Whoa. And so what happened?
What happened was we left.
Oh, you all left.
So what do you think about all this stuff they're saying now that people who haven't gotten the vaccine should be not allowed to work and maybe they're going to come to your house and check? Does that bring back maybe any memories of the government trying to tell you to do something that you might feel people should have their own input into doing?
So the vaccine, personally, I haven't been vaccinated. If you want to get a vaccine, go right ahead.
Right.
There's evidence out there that might suggest that those states that more people are vaccinated, the COVID cases have gone down. Who knows where these statistics are coming from? But at the end of the day, if you sacrifice liberty for security, you deserve neither.
Yeah.
You were a very thoughtful guy for any age. Are you interested in people contacting you about activism for Cuba on Instagram or anything like that?
I'm just another Cuban that wants liberty for my people. If you want to contact me, you can contact me directly. My Instagram is drip.Cisco on Instagram. But if you really want to get more information, you should go to Instagram, SOS Cuba NYC.
And what was that drip dot Cisco? How do you spell Cisco?
CISCO.
Okay, very good. Well,
Thanks
you're
for
on.
speaking to us.
I'm just another Cuban more. If you want more accurate information, SOS Cuba NYC. You can find accurate information there, and maybe the people that don't know that's going on, that have no idea Americans are still in the dark, they can inform themselves a little bit better there.
Well, thank you
very much.
Thank you for what you're doing and
Have
for
a
your
good
time.
day.
Who are you guys? What's your name?
Crowdsource the Truth on YouTube. Jason Goodman. Good speaking to you. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Take care. Be safe.
Charles, I got to tell you.
Was that scripted?
No, but I mean, sorry, hang on. When I meet somebody in their 20s
Was that well spoken?
who is that sensible,
Right.
and, I mean, that gives me hope.
Yeah, I mean that guy should be in Congress.
Exactly.
And AOC should be back. Not
He's only 2 years younger than her.
not slinging drinks. You know, isn't AOC almost 30?
And he said he's 28.
3.
Oh, 23.
Yeah.
Wow, I can't believe that guy's 23.
Yeah. So that guy, he can't. He
Oh, right, he said he was 8 months old when he came here.
Right.
Sorry.
That's okay. So he should be in Congress eventually, and AOC should not be mixing drinks. She should be back in the kitchen trying to wash the drink glasses. Should we go down first, or you want to go to?
Wait, do you need to be 25 to run for Congress?
Yes. Well, to serve in Congress, you can run, as somebody announced just now, at under the age that is required, provided you turn 25 by
The time you're in.
January 3rd or 2nd or whatever it is that you're sworn in.
That's too bad. We could have had mini AOC run.
I think she is. I mean, it's
10
obvious.
in Congress.
It's obviously not, I don't think, a 7 or 8 or 10-year-old person writing these
I
very.
think it's her father, right?
It's very, very funny.
And now I saw the other day, she's getting old. She's getting taller, much taller.
Oh, is she? Maybe she's 12 or 10
I mean,
or
right.
something.
When you're like 8 or 9, it's a
Yeah.
year goes by and suddenly it's like, holy crap, this kid is huge.
Right. But it's with AOC, to belabor, not even a point, but with AOC, it's when you take somebody and let's say a star student in I don't know, Spanish in 6th grade in elementary school, and you say, you know, all right, you're so good in Spanish, it's your first language, so you should be pretty good at it. But why don't we make you president of the United States? Because you're good in Spanish. I mean,
Didn't Cheech and Chong have some skit about going to night school and getting a
this?
B in Spanish?
see that guy behind?
I did. I got him on camera.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's the Secretary General. We got nothing to do, so I might as well just sleep outside.
Well, this is like a little, I have to admit, I've never been over here before.
And I haven't until recently. Look at all the new buildings across the way, and I think that's
That's what I was looking at, actually.
is that Brooklyn or is that Queens? I'm not sure.
That's, well,
It could be on the line or something.
I think depending on the north part of it or the south part of it, right? I don't know. It's probably, I don't know.
It's amazing how parochial I am. And, you know, now many years of living on the Rock here in Manhattan, I have the number of times, number of days, full days and overnights that I've spent in a borough is I'm not sure I've ever spent a night
In Queens
in
or Brooklyn?
overnight sleeping in.
When I was a little kid, I used to stay at my grandparents' house.
I wasn't talking about you. I'm
That's
talking
true.
about me.
No, but I mean, the story is essentially the same for
Right.
me.
Yeah. That said, there are portions. I mean, it's hipster, in quotes, paradise in Williamsburg. But honestly, when you go over there, when my kids were both living in different places over there, I would go out and have a meal with them or whatever, and sometimes walk all the way over there. And it does have a different feel.
Yeah, like Escape from New York.
What?
Like Snake Plissken style.
There's the helicopter getting ready to drone strike us.
Well, it looks like China over there, Charles, the new buildings.
Exactly.
That helicopter is way too far away unless it's firing rockets.
It's luring us into this false sense of confidence.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, we'll be
Drone strike.
in a rain of drone strikes.
Speaking of drone strikes, we haven't really heard anything about Julian Assange.
Yeah, I don't understand what Trump was doing as president with Julian Assange. I mean, I would have, among the first few things that I might have done in his role, I would demand a briefing of what the hell is going on with him, and what is the United States' position on him, and why is our oldest and closest ally in Britain doing this to him, when the person who has, I think, a key witness against him is recanted. The Swedish guy, I think, recanted. And this guy languishes in prison. He's sick. And he's not in prison in Mexico or Mexico. He's in prison, in a horrible prison in the UK. And the UK, if the United States were to say to the UK, listen, enough of this oldest and closest ally bullshit. We're taking all of our troops out of the UK. We're putting you can have a voice in these international organizations that is consistent with your total GDP, right? So we're
I
going
think they should base it on the orthodonture. England would have no say at
to need
all.
for or quality of.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Both.
so, you know, if we were really, we have considerable leverage we could put against these people. And just, what the hell are you doing here?
I was going to ask that woman how the situation is at the hospital, but she didn't look like she wanted to tell us.
Didn't look too friendly.
No.
The natives are restless. Now, my recollection, Jason, is as we get down here, we get struck again with.
Well, we can start to head a little bit west.
And I think there's a heliport at 34th Street.
Oh, you want to check that out?
I haven't seen it. My brother told me it's interesting.
We got to go all the way to the water.
We can see it from afar. Just peer down 34th.
Yeah, we'll take a look.
There's-
I'm pretty sure that's over by where that like parking lot is and everything. We're going to get stuck in kind of a quagmire.
We won't. I don't want a quagmire.
Yeah, well, we'll walk down here to 34th, and then I think
We could. I suppose we could take a cut this way and get out of the. You want to go this way, Jason? You got it.
Sure.
That way.
Yeah, I don't think we can see that heliport that easily. I could be wrong, but
This takes you to a portion of the city we haven't actually looked at recently.
right,
At all.
exactly. And you can park your edge over there.
Your ass?
That's the edge.
Oh, I thought you said ass. So I remember when this Corinthian building went in.
Do they have fine leather in there with Ricardo Montalban?
Yeah, I miss Ricardo Montalban. Wasn't he in Fantasy
he's-
Island?
Right, and he was also Khan, possibly the greatest movie villain and science fiction villain of all time.
Was he really?
Yeah, he was Khan. He was,
I thought that was
Captain
Bill
Kirk's
Clinton.
ultimate rival.
Huh.
Well, in our version, it was Bill Clinton, but in Wrath of Khan, it was Ricardo Montalban.
All right. And here's the entrance to the Queens Midtown Tunnel. I remember in '83, I had bought my first property, and a friend of mine had bought a place on Long Island. Really got to come out to my place. And he kept hounding me, and I really didn't want to go because I had just bought my own place and I wanted to get to know it.
Right.
So one day I said, all right, fine, I'll go. I won't. This we really do not have to like here.
This is dangerous here.
I think we should wait until and cross the street
Yeah.
because these people are
I don't
determined
think
to
we're
leave.
supposed to really. Right. This is a crazy.
Whose idea was this anyway?
So this guy
Says
that
red.
dude was smoking legal weed
I guess it's red.
coming out of that Mercedes. Man, that guy's got the goods, Charles.
That's dangerous as hell. But anyway, so I was living right near here. In fact, my car was parked just up here on 37th Street, and I jump into it with Clarissa, and we spin in through here, and we're zipping through the Queens Midtown Tunnel, thinking I'm gonna be out in Long Island in an hour.
Oh, and then
this-
you stop the second you get out the tunnel.
and it stopped instantly, and it was a weekend. We hadn't been watching the weather where they'd gotten a lot of rain and flooding. So 4 hours later, we hadn't gotten to LaGuardia,
Oh my God.
and I turn. It was pre-cell phone, so I turn around, go back home, and I say, "Hey Tony, look, I'm really sorry, but we're not going to Long Island." He said, "No, you can do this and that, and there's this trick and that trick." I said, "Tony,
No.
I love you, but no, nay."
Well, this has been quite a lengthy walking tour, Charles.
It's good exercise.
It is good exercise. The videos are not quite, getting the reach that they once did because the channels have been chopped down. Another thing that people can do that's very helpful for people who are unable or otherwise don't want to become sponsors on patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth or subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. They can just email these videos to friends and family, post them on social media. Emailing is probably a better idea because everybody's worried about getting canceled by Jen Balsacki on the social media, so don't do that. But send the videos around.
It's pronounced silent Balzacki.
Yeah. I think the B through Z is silent. And
Right.
then it's just Saki. That guy's 001 Weapons of Mass Destruction.
Wow. Is that a
It was a Mercedes.
Cadillac? No, it's a CTS Cadillac.
Oh, yeah, it was a Cadillac, you're right.
But is it a diplomatic car, I wonder? Yeah, lights, they don't matter.
No, they have diplomatic immunity.
No, but bicyclist idiots.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've ever been hit by a bike. I guess you said,
Skateboard.
but you get hit by a bike going
Injured in
5 miles
bad
an hour,
ways.
it hurts.
Yes, it's metal and
Well,
pointy.
in particular, the foot pedals really can hurt you.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
that's true. Well, so what other major news items would you
Lose-
say are?
Lose items.
Let's see
Joe
if
Biden
people are,
losing his grip. Well,
Oh,
we
right, so he said Facebook is killing people.
we have this extreme
Zuckerberg's dog is a rabbi.
volatility in the markets. Monday down 700 plus. Yesterday up 500 plus. Today up 200 or so before we started. And people who watch markets get nervous when you start seeing these up and down. and up.
Cryptocurrency was doing that too.
Right.
Your favorite.
Yeah. Not a fan. I did. There's this thing called Press TV, which is based in Tehran, and I think it.
This is just happening from radio interference because
Okay.
we're moving all around, but we should be back now.
That's it.
Garbage hanging out on the streets.
Yeah.
I appreciate the viewers who are sticking with us through these disruptions. I think people have come to realize that it comes back pretty quick.
Yeah. This is quite the walk, as you point out. We've done
So someone is upset that we're not talking enough about Fauci, so they feel the need to say something stupid to me.
About
Linda,
that.
if you're not happy with the broadcast, tune out, but stick your complaints somewhere.
This used to be a deli there. I mean, like a breakfast or lunch place. That's gone. Rio Grande in Mexico is still here. That's at
To
least.
satisfy people, Charles, who want more Fauci, what else can we say? The guy's an idiot. Rand Paul has now presented evidence that whether he sends a letter to the DOJ or not, how can that kind of questioning go on in Congress and then just nobody do anything? I guess it's a dumb question. It happens all the time. Nobody did anything about Hillary Clinton lying about Benghazi.
Well, it's interesting that the question of how monies went from our treasury and the government agencies to Wuhan is a question that leads you to an analysis of EcoHealth Alliance, which is a charity fraud and has not been prosecuted yet, and featured very prominently in the answers, attempted answers that Fauci gave to Rand Paul and has given to other people over time. So this is an area of the American people who are right now, when markets are up, people tend to feel a little bit better, and when they're down, you feel poor if you're in the market. But when time comes to examine how to spend government money more wisely, one area we really should give focus to is how somebody like a Fauci could have so much control over so much government money for so long with no accountability. And that to me is shocking.
Well, I think it is that he's relying on loopholes because he was quite careful to select his language when he was answering Rand Paul. I forget what he called it. He said a through grant or a cross grant or a sub grant, something like that.
Again, you can't do that. For example, when the FBI came to talk to me, I couldn't. You have to tell the truth and nothing but the whole truth. You can't parse the meaning of the word is or sex.
Well, what you could have done is you could say, no, FBI, you are lying.
I could have tried that. But, his performance, Fauci's performance, really through the pandemic and going further back to his work in theory fighting HIV and AIDS is atrocious.
Worse than that, criminal.
And the fact that our medical establishment, such as it exists, could elevate him to the high positions he's been in and leave him above accountability for decades and turn him into the guy who's among the most highly paid federal.
I thought the highest paid.
I think the Tennessee Valley River Authority guy was making millions, but
what?
Yeah. Trump stopped that though.
What the hell was he doing?
Well, Trump stopped that. Companies and quasi-government entities can maneuver themselves into a place. They get a consultant to say, well, we really need to compete with the private sector, so to do that, we've got to have people here who earn equivalent. And then they typically start with the directors. And they get the consultants to come in and say, directors of these companies, they really need to make a lot more money.
Right.
And at Exxon, directors fly around in the private jets, so while we may not own one, maybe we should rent one. And you start that way. And then when the subject of how much should the CEO make comes around, then the directors are happy to say, well, yeah, okay, we'll pay the CEO more. It's gross.
So, all right.
Or
here we have more people who think it's a great idea to clog up the sidewalk.
Let's not engage with them.
We're not going to engage with them, but they shouldn't be riding these things on the sidewalk.
So, they outnumber us. But similarly with these presidential foundations.
Is that a tree stump?
It is.
Wow.
We had the original theories that presidential foundations were just supposed to be places where the records of a presidency would be stored, saving money, taxpayer money, and where people could study them on the right, the left, and in between.
Does this guy think he's going to make a right turn on red?
I don't know. He's an idiot.
No right on red, bro. No right on red. No right on red.
Where's your tail? You don't have a tail.
What? What did he say?
What he said.
You have a tail.
Something like that. He's a genius.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So now,
government people getting money.
right? Well, so the presidential archives have become now taxpayer and donor-funded platforms for presidential families to feather their nests, which is never what it was intended for. We see that in the evolution of the two Bush libraries, certainly the Clinton double-wide library and its satellites all over the world, and now the Obama Fake Foundation, which is not even going to store
Right.
the records of his presidency.
Haven't even built it, and they're already,
Grifting.
yeah.
So this is an area I hope people are going to rise up and do something about lawfully, not using violence. We'll just say enough is enough. We're all paying our taxes. The people who pay a disproportionately high percentage of their money away in taxes are the poor. Particularly if you smoke and drink. You're paying
Paying taxes on all that. What about Bezos going to space?
and not paying any taxes.
And de Blasio posted that on Twitter. I was like, listen, dope. Jeff Bezos, I'm no fan, but what'd your wife do with the 800 million?
Did you say that?
Yeah.
Are you trying to be on every known list? Is it you like
Put me on the damn list. I don't think
those guys and girls who want to be in every country club and every lunch and city and social club on the planet?
I don't care about the lists.
Goodman's List. It has a ring to it. It could be,
Right, it's like Schindler's List,
Yeah.
but not really the same.
hopefully not.
You guys vlogging?
Yep.
Yeah, you want to be on the show?
That's alright. Just wondering.
You guys look like you're in love.
Maybe. You guys look like you're in love.
No.
Fuck you, man. This date was going well until he started acting like an idiot. Actually, the girl looked like she was in love with him.
Yeah.
He looked like a douchebag before we started talking to
I
him.
know. Wise ass.
Everybody, it's like, listen, that guy called us over, our attention.
Right.
So I'm just walking down the street minding my own business. When people want to try to make illegal right turns and run me over or say something smart ass like that, then I'm rude.
Yeah. Well, all right. You're retaliating. Yeah.
Responding in kind,
Exactly.
even if it's unkind.
So this is the base of Park Avenue here.
Right. And when we were checking out the tunnel on the last show, see, I think people enjoy walking around, seeing the sights of New York, including dopes. It's all part of it.
Well, I mean, it's a central part of, that's New York. Why do you think they call it dope?
I was trying to compliment that guy by saying they look like they
Water
were in
under
love.
bridge. Might have been his sister.
I think she was standing way too close.
I don't know. Another spa, Jason. Spa 34.
No wonder. A lot of places out of business over here, Charles. Now we're right in the shadow of the Empire State Building.
Is that where you get cut out again?
No, just that, there should be a lot of tourists and stuff around. There's a place that's selling bagels and pizza, so if
Some
you
guys
want to,
sleeping.
right, launder money double time.
Yeah, there used to be a Chinese kosher restaurant here. I don't know if it's still here or not.
Well, they also had Mendy's around here, which Kenny Banya wanted to go with Seinfeld.
Is that right?
Mendy's, Jerry, it's the best.
Yeah, look, I think it's out. Oh no, kosher, there it is. Kosher, Midtown.
Oh yeah.
I think I've been in here once.
Oh my
No,
God.
this is when it was, is it no longer, no, Asian salad bowls. Huh. Yeah, it used to be, I guess it still is. Chinese food,
They got a
kosher.
Shabbat special with all the Chinese stuff in there. Yeah, for some reason this is like the kosher restaurant neighborhood. So Charles, I don't know when I'm going to be ready to start talking about this completely, but been major breakthroughs both on the technological front and the lawsuit front.
Good.
Yeah, I'm thinking I might do a show deconstructing the lawsuit.
I'd wait a bit on that.
Well, I'm going to wait until it's complete, but there are certain aspects that I can talk about. I mean, people can go on the docket. These things are public record, and they can see what's going on. I think I've mentioned to you that my former associate, George, he filed a lawsuit against CNN in Michigan.
Is that going well?
Not for him, but I filed my first amicus curiae brief as a friend of the court, sharing information with them that I think is important to the case, even though I'm not involved.
The only thing I will say is,
And we'll see what the court chooses to do. These guys want to play games in federal court. I don't think it's a smart game to play. I'm just trying to defend myself. I also want to thank everybody who has contributed to the Counter Lawfare Fund. When people visit crowdsourcethetruth.com, oops, that's not it. I have a video to accompany this little patter here. But when people visit crowdsourcethetruth.com, I thought I had a video. Yeah, there it is.
You got
They
the
can-
light. Careful the puddle.
They can sponsor the Counter Lawfare Fund by scrolling down past today's video. You can also watch the videos on there. And when people sponsor the Counter Lawfare Fund, they're going to get an annual subscription to the sponsor exclusive shows. There are different sponsorship levels that they can choose, and they can even send gift subscriptions to friends and family. But they're helping me fight lawfare. And if my assessment of what's going on in the Eastern District of Michigan is correct, this is a way that people can actually get involved in fighting corruption. That'll affect a lot of other people who are going through federal court. So I want to thank people for doing that. And the next phase of what I'm going to do from a technological standpoint, Charles, with the Crowdsource the Truth video server, is to hopefully eventually make it so that people can watch sponsor exclusive content directly on crowdsourcethetruth.com. A lot of people aren't happy with Patreon and other social media companies that kind of get their own political biases involved in some of the transactions as far as kicking people off for saying things. If I'm able to complete this project and make crowdsourcethetruth.com a destination for sponsors, we'll be totally free of that kind of big
That's good.
Yeah, it takes a long time to build and a lot of money, so I want to thank the sponsors who have been there, and they're making it happen. Crowdsource the Truth might well have been kicked off all viable social media platforms by now if it wasn't for the sponsors. Look at that.
What?
I always am interested in these different coats of arms and everything. Good, how are you? What's the Remsen building?
I think that means leisure of labor.
Say again?
Leisure of labor. You look that up.
Nature?
Labor.
Oh,
When you look those up.
all right, thanks. I could not hear or understand a single thing that guy said.
I think he was trying to translate what the Latin said. So here's this expensive furniture alley here. Some potentially more reasonably priced than others, or less unreasonably priced than others.
Have we heard anything more about Hunter Biden's artwork?
Well, I mean, I'm all in. I mean, I've sold everything. I'm going to get, my various places I'm thinking about buying.
The Ortel gallery featuring Hunter Biden.
It's going to be, where I live out my days. I want to. He's just so inspired. I was going to just at the end.
Short
Yeah.
cutoff. I think we're back. I just keep restarting it. So there's also been an update to iOS since our last show. So maybe that's making recovery work better. I don't know. We could ask Hunter Biden or Mike Lindell. Oh yeah, what about all this stuff that's happening with the audits, Charles?
The election audits.
Can't talk about it too much because I think YouTube hates it.
Right. Well, again, the
have a good night.
people who are fighting these audits are behaving as if they are guilty, especially given the facts that are coming out here. If you were so sure that Biden won convincingly, you should be quite willing to show people the receipts instead of fighting that process tooth and nail.
It
And
seems like a similar argument to if you're confident that the vaccine inoculates you from the disease, why do you care if somebody else has it or not?
right, exactly. So this isn't about follow the science. Follow the leader. You do what the leader tells
Listen
you to
and
do.
obey.
Right. And listen, obey, and pay.
Right, that's the mantra of the BBC.
Right. Yeah.
More fiber optic going in the ground here.
More Verizon trucks. They're everywhere, Jason.
I know. So a lot of random people admiring the video equipment today. No shortage of dumb comments.
Well, it's novel. I mean, I've seen it a lot, but
Oh no, I thought you meant the dumb comments are novel.
no, the video equipment is novel.
Fauci got into an argument about whether or not it was novel. These viruses, they were talking about whether or not it was gain of function. No, you're lying, Rand Paul.
Yeah, it
One of my
wasn't
favorite
good.
Things on television ever.
It was like, if you go back, one of the, I think, Obama's worst performances was the White House Correspondents' Dinner, where he made fun of Trump,
Right.
and captured the speech at the end, dropping the mic. You know, if you're so sure that
It was
maybe,
a little bit funny.
well, funny, yeah, but if you're so sure of yourself, well, maybe you should run for
And then he
president,
did,
and then
right.
he did. It's like, who
That
had
was
the last
who
laugh?
had the last mic drop? Charles, you parked your Ford Raptor over here.
I did. The garage is filled with Hunter Biden paintings.
Yeah, you had to put the.
I think before I bought
Turbocharged
any
truck.
Hunter Biden paintings, what I would do is I would corner the market in My Lies hardcovers and Hillary Clinton's What Happened book, and make sure that it's okay to have a gigantic fire pit, because there are some fires out west that are out of control right now, particularly in Oregon, but have one that's environmentally safe, and just have a monster barbecue, taking the
What was that, raccoon?
raccoon dinner, yeah. You barbecue some Beyond Meat and see if anybody
Beyond
noticed it.
raccoon.
Beyond, see if anybody noticed the difference.
Shakes provided by Bill Gates.
Exactly.
Protein shakes and Beyond Meat.
Exactly. And vomit bags provided by Mike Lindell. He's got a new thing. I've got sheets, pillowcases, and vomit bags.
So somehow Mike Lindell is financing these audits. How does that? What do we
I
know
don't
about
know.
that? Or he's claiming to do that?
I don't know anything about that. All I do know is he's all over TV again on Fox. He's constantly advertising on Tucker. I can't take those ads anymore.
Well, haven't they said, "Hey, you're not allowed to come on Fox because we think you're a conspiracy theorist"?
Well, as an appearance, but I guess they need the money, so they'll.
Well, but I'm saying, why wouldn't he say, "Hey, I'm a sponsor. I'm pulling my ads"?
A lot of those deals are negotiated over long periods of time, so who knows is the answer.
I don't know. The whole thing reeks to me. I don't trust Mike Lindell.
Either.
Looks like dope skateboarding on the sidewalk.
Yeah. Not supposed to do any of that. I think we're walking near Chelsea Clinton's
Yep.
house, somewhere near here.
But I mean, so
So Jason, as we did the last time, I
Yeah.
might
we've got
sit in the park and you
break
got
it here. Oh, look at this guy playing the violin inside his car.
wear a mask.
Right. That's like a Lincoln ad right there.
Great Poupon
The
ad.
acoustics are so good. He's moved out of his apartment and he's playing violin and the guitar.
Yeah.
Perhaps that was the world's smallest violin.
May I have some Grey Poupon?
All right, Charles. Well, I think we will end the show basically here. In 20 minutes, I'm going to be appearing on Lee Stranahan's backstory on Sputnik Radio.
Well, I'll let you get to that.
Here's a small child without a mask. I'm glad to see that.
That's good.
So we've
Go
seen
there.
some kids with
So I'll
masks.
sign off.
All right, very well, Charles. We will just bid everyone Adieu. Have a great day, everybody. Don't forget to become a sponsor on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. More skateboarding in the park. Have a great day, everybody. I will be back later tonight with High Dive with Lee Stranahan, so become a sponsor to catch that show, and I'll see everybody then.